Hello everyone, this is General History, and this is episode 4 of our, what is this? Ultimate General Civil War playthrough. We are playing the second battle of or first battle of Bull Run. This is the second, um, this is the second episode of the first battle of Bull Run. So we're still holding on to Stonebridge, although we're probably going to have to retreat here soon. We're trying to get, Jackson's forces in position. Lane is now in retreat himself. I don't know. Let's go ahead. I don't want to do this, but let's go ahead and get these guys up here to double click. Now Jackson, as I had said in the last episode, had set up his positions on the reverse slope of the hill between the Robinson house and the Henry house. This would be the Henry house here. I've seen a few people get this in videos get this house confused, but this is actually the Robinson house. The Henry house was actually to the south. Go ahead and keep slowing these guys down, guys. Lane, you're a coward. Cavalry is actually in our rear now. Hampton's legion's in full retreat, but we're almost in position. Come on, Lane. Recover. And at least Hampton recovered. What are you doing? Alright, move forward. So we're still holding on to the stone bridge. I feel like we're probably going to be retreating here soon. We're starting to get in a position here. I'm going to put Lane in these buildings here. Hampton, what are you doing? Oh, he's crossing the ford. Oh, shoot. Shoot canister into him, my god. Alright, so we have 2nd Virginia taking up position here. 4th Virginia. Let's sort of stabilize my lines here. Now, Jackson had actually set up his artillery on the crest where his troops were set up, right along the edge of the woods here, on the downward slope. The idea was, like I said in the last episode, Evans had done the same thing. The idea being that he could, let's go ahead and pause. The idea being that he could, as the Union would crest the hill, he could pour volley after volley into the Union forces. The Union wouldn't be able to bring all their troops to bear in just the one attack. So he would basically be able to overwhelm them with his superior fire. I think I'm going to try and get Bartow and B to retreat now that Hampton's in position, as well as Stonewall Jackson is now officially pretty much in position. Now he set his guns forward of his infantry in order to, basically the idea was he set it up on the crest of the hill. That way if the guns were to, when the guns fired, the recoil of the guns would actually carry them down the hill, which would allow them to reload in safety, and then the crews would push the guns back up the hill. And then fire, and then same thing, just keep firing and advancing. Alright, get one more good volley off, and then I'm going to retreat you guys. If you can. Hold, and fire. Why aren't you firing the volley? I guess their morale is too low to fire a full volley. I'm still learning that aspect of the game. I feel like I've read somewhere that if their morale is too low, they won't be able to fire a full volley, and that it will be very sporadic. Get out of there! Oh my god, get out of there. So we're still holding on. We've taken a lot of casualties in my gun battery. Oh my god, we started at 14 guns, but now down to 8 here. Burnside is beginning his approach up the hill. I'll let them back, actually. Where's B? B, get out of there. We're gonna go ahead and get you guys into these woods. So we're able to sort of make Burnside route. Bartow, let's get you out of there, finally. So Ricketts is actually taking up positions on Dugan Hill. That's interesting. That the game actually has Ricketts doing that. Now Ricketts and Griffin's gun batteries would actually be moved forward to support the infantry, all the way up to Henry House. This is where the widow Henry died, because Ricketts believed he was taking fire from the house, which I believe he actually was. It's interesting now. If you go to Henry House now, it doesn't look like it did. It's now like a two-story house. They actually built a better house afterwards, but anyway, Rickett believed he was taking sharpshooter fire from the house. I guess this is some contention on whether he was or wasn't. So he then poured fire into the house. Burnside's going after Bartow right now, which is fine. I mean, they can take all the time they want to. If Bartow can force Burnside to chase him, that's fine. Whatever. But it doesn't look like he's gonna make it in time. Burnside, that is. And he's just taking artillery fire, so whatever. Anyway, Ricketts fired into the Henry house, which shattered the leg. I believe it actually took off the leg of the widow Henry. She became the first civilian casualty of the war, if I'm not mistaken. So we just had B pass through Jackson's lines. Now, historically, this is where you get the famous saying, of course. Well, first B approached Jackson. I believe they were West Point graduates together, and so they knew each other. And B had told Jackson that the enemy are driving us. Is what B said to Jackson. Jackson responded with, "Then, sir, we will give them the bayonet." B then rode off to try and rally the rest of his men. And when he approached them, he pointed to Jackson standing on the hill, and of course the very famous line, "There's Jackson, standing like a stone wall. Let us determine to die here, and we will conquer, rally behind the Virginians." Now, there is some debate of whether that's exactly what B said. It's very... If that's not exactly what B said, it's believed that he said something extremely similar. We're actually holding off on the stone bridge here, so I'm very happy with what's going on. In fact, this is exactly what happened. So I'm wondering if the game did this on purpose, if this is scripted, or what, because this is exactly how, pretty much exactly how what happened is we had this long period of time where Jackson had set up his troops. But anyway, going back to what B said, it's not 100% sure whether that is what B said, and there's also debate on what the meaning behind what he said was. Some people believe it to be a very rallying cry, and he's just like, "Look, there is Jackson, he's standing there. We should rally behind this man who is, and his forces who are doing this incredible deed, just standing there." Also, some people have also taken it to mean that Jackson was just standing around while B is taking all these casualties. But most people tend to think he was B was saying it in a good light and not a bad light. So we now have Griffin. Griffin's battery is now approaching. Like I said, they would have actually approached down south here, near the Henry house, but oh well, the game's close enough. I'm beginning to think I should retreat my forces here. It's not going to be long. In fact, what I think I might do, rather than retreat, I might go ahead and move Kemper into position. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and get these guys out of here. We'll take up position on the rear because I'm sure these forces at the stone bridge are going to start coming across. So we'll set up positions on the rear. I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's what we're going to do anyway. Siegfried, get one more good volley off, and then you're going to retreat too. Alright, get out of here. Run. Oh, he broke. And now he's routing. Alright, my character needs to get up there and try and get him to rally before we start getting overwhelmed. Kemper will take up positions in these woods, sort of guarding our rear. Siegfried, I'll move around to sort of guard down here in case they start coming up. Between he and B, they should be enough to support. Now, B was actually shot in the stomach shortly after his famous line, and would die the next day, unfortunately. So we never. That's why we'll never really know what B meant by what he said, because unfortunately he was no longer around to be able to actually explain himself. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and retreat Hampton. Actually, you know what? We might as well just keep him here, although he's almost out of ammo. So we now have Battle. Guns guarding our flank with Kemper. Siegfried has finally rallied, so we're going to move him into that spot there. And we should be receiving reinforcements here soon. Now, historically, like I said, the guns were actually set up on Henry House Hill, or near the Henry House here. Griffin would actually move his couple of his batteries to the south here, and that's where a very famous confusion happened, where I believe it was the 33rd Virginia, which I actually do have on my left flank, then began to march. It was either the 33rd Virginia or it was Cox Brigade that were marching up the hill, and Griffin turned his guns on them, but they were wearing blue, and this brings up a very interesting thing about the battle. Now, there was a lot of confusion in the entirety of the battle based on the what everybody was wearing. A lot of the Union, like here we see they're all in gray. That wasn't the case. They weren't all in gray during the battle. Very much of them were wearing blue, including the 33rd Virginia, if I'm correct in saying that that was the one that was approaching Griffin's battery. Some of the Union were wearing gray. They were the Zouave uniforms, which were very colorful. The Fire Zouaves, which we're about to talk about here in a minute, wore a bright red. And so there was all the confusion in the uniform. Some troops were even wearing just civilian clothes. There was reports that some troops were wearing Revolutionary War uniforms. I don't know how much truth there is to that, though. I'm going to go ahead and set up Stuart's cavalry on the south here as well. But so when Griffin moved his battery into position and a unit began approaching him, he turned his guns on him. His commanding officer, though, I forget the name of that officer, told him that those are not Confederates, that those are Union troops, so that is his artillery support that he ordered into position. Griffin said something along the lines of, sure as day, those are Confederates. That is about the time when the Confederates load their weapons and then shot a volley into the gunners, which pretty much devastated the entire battery because the horses and most of the men had went down with that volley. It was about this time too that we talked about Stuart and how I'm moving him south here. Stuart then charged in and actually attacked the 11th. Was it the 11th? I'm pretty sure it was the 11th New York, which were the Fire Zouaves, which I mentioned before. Zouaves were like a light infantry. If you don't know that, uh, they were the protectors of the gun battery. And Jeb Stuart, I believe there's a story too where Jeb Stuart didn't know whose force they were. He was actually running towards them, and he thought they were Confederate gun batteries, but they were actually Union. So he ran back to his troops and then ordered or not ran, but rode back to his troops and then ordered a charge through the 11th New York, which routed them and the gunners from the field. So I said all that in a pause. I should have just been going that whole time. So we got 3 minutes left. I'm assuming until our reinforcements arrive. I seriously doubt if that's the end of the battle. Hampton's actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull Hampton out. In fact, I'm going to put Siegfried over here. Okay, so yeah, we are now being charged with a counterattack. General of the Union is severely weakened, and now we can counterattack with our fresh reinforcements that will arrive shortly under command of Johnson. Concentrate the attack on the right flank and drive them back to Washington. Alright, so we have Smith's battalion, who would have just arrived by rail. Let's take a look at what we're doing. So, I'm just gonna assume the game, being historically accurate, probably has troops on Chin Ridge here, so I'm gonna send Smith's forces there. If not, I can just move him across a flank into Dugan Ridge. Let's actually move him across the road here. Howard's battalion was set up on, of Heintzelman's Corps, was set up on Chin Ridge. Technically, I should have Jubal early here as well, if this game was to be accurate. These forces, so this should be about, actually it's a little early. This is saying it's only 12:30. These forces wouldn't have arrived until about 4 o'clock. So we have Cock here as well. So we'll go ahead and move all these forces across the river here. Actually, you know what? We'll use Cock's forces to, and then we can counter with, historically we can counter with Jackson's forces this way. Johnson will command this. My core units I will keep where I am, just because they're my core units, and I'm going to have to end up replacing these units, so I'll try to take as few casualties with them as I possibly can. Now traditionally, like I said, historically, we almost timed that perfectly. When Griffin's battery was lost, Jackson then ordered the rest of his units to then charge and take Ricketts' battery. Now the battery would then change hands several times as more federal forces began arriving. So we have a weak, well, no, we do have Lane here, who's sort of holding this the northern edge of our line here. Let's go ahead and get Stewart in the Henry House so we can get some eyes on these guys. That's what that eye symbol means. It gives us this like a spotting location. So we have Burnside coming up. Oh, and Ricketts' gun is pretty much in its traditional location. So let's go ahead and start moving these guys forward. Advance, my legions. Give them the bayonet. In fact, that's actually very traditional, or historically, Jackson ordered his troops. Let me see if I can remember the exact quote, I believe it was reserve your fire until they come within 50 yards. I remember that part. That's the beginning of it. Now, granted, I'm technically charging them. Oh well. Then fire and give them the bayonet. And when you charge, yell like furies. This was the first, believed to be the first reported instance of the rebel yell. Which came in various different shapes and forms. So it doesn't look like they have any forces on Shin Ridge. So we'll go ahead and move Smith into position on the rear of them here. Use Stewart to sort of hit them in their flanks now. He has carbines. He doesn't actually have sabers, so he's not going to be very good with a charge. Well, fire, Stewart. Jeez. It was about 4 p.m. when the last of the forces were pushed off the hill here. So we're starting to get Burnside the route. Let's go ahead and cut them off here. They have discovered Smith in their rear, so they are, looks like they are sort of countering. Oh no, they're shooting into my rear, the 27th Virginia's rear. Actually, they're sort of routing. Oh no, they've just recovered. Okay, we got them to route. Now go in there. Oh wait, I just used my charge. Alright, run into position. Keep them routing. 27th is retreating. That's why we're not putting any pressure on Franklin. Brockenborough, let's go ahead and move forward. Same with Standards. Let's get Johnson forward as well. Let's start moving these supplies forward. I totally forgot about these troops. Now they are literally caught in the river. This isn't Bull Run, this is a Young's Gap or something like that. I forget what that's called. Okay, so we're fighting it out here in the river, or in the creek. It's not where I want to be, but they're not technically my guys, so I'm not that worried about it. Not really sure where Burnside went. That's actually a little foreboding. Don't know where he's going to end up popping up. A lot going on, and I'm starting to lose position of all my forces. Alright, 27th Virginia is finally get them back up there. 5th Virginia, go ahead and break off. Same with Bartow. So here comes Burnside. So we walk right into these guns, which is why they're routing. They're shooting canister. They're on the slope and they're shooting canister into us, so we're not doing a very good job against them. So Ricketts is now back up and running. Burnside's marching against Smith. I'm going to counter with the 33rd. Actually, 33rd, you go out to Franklin. Nope. Smith's only taken 4 casualties. All that volley fire against each other, and they only took 4 casualties. So we're breaking them in along the slope, the front face of the hill. We've broken them. Bartow, I'm gonna send south too. Gonna need more troops down there. 2nd Virginia, you can go. You march against Wilcox. 27th, I'm gonna charge against Griffin. We'll see how that works out for them. So, took a lot of casualties with these guns, but I'm not too worried about it because they're not my core units. In fact, the more casualties these guys take, the better when you think about it. So these are just guns that I might be able to recover. So hitting them from 3 different angles. Let me go ahead and get Stewart into there as well. The 27th is retreating. Hit the gun battery. Hit the gun battery. Come on. Good volley. Good volley. Break them. Almost broke them. Completely. We got them to rout. And now they're broken. 4th Virginia has rallied. Let's get them on the hill. 7th has rallied as well. Cavalry has been pushed off. So it should be about 4 o'clock that we finally completely push these guys off the hill, which would be, like I said, pretty historically accurate. We got about an hour left to technically hold the hill, but like I said, I'm not really worried about holding the hill at this point. Bartow, you can go ahead and move forward. Get in the forest and take Ricketts. Do it. You get up there as well. Brockenborough. Let's move Brockenborough forward. Point blank range. Pretty good volley. I'll take that. Come on, 33rd. So Burnside looks like he's moving against Stewart, which is fine with me. 33rd can take out Ricketts' battery. Alright, so we've finally broken the artillery on the hill after our 2nd assault. Let's go ahead and move B and Hampton forward. Feel kind of cheap not using my forces, although I did have Lane up there, and he gave it as good as he got it. He said Siegfried had an amazing job. He 2-to-1. I guess I'll move Jackson forward. Whatever happened to Johnson? Did I get Johnson killed? I think I might have got Johnson killed. Ricketts is pretty much out of ammo. He's actually starting to limber up, it looks like. These two are still trading volleys. This front face of the hill looks like it's going okay. Although they outnumber us a lot, and Barto looks like he's about to break. Moving forward. Pelham has 2 guns left. I think now that I'm pushing up, go ahead and move my guys into position up on the hill just in case Jackson's regiments start breaking. Franklin is broken, so they got him in the river. So Barto is broken. Now we got him in a bit of a salient here. McDowell's forces, that is. Come on, break Franklin. Well, we got him to rout. There goes Barto's men. B's still hanging in there though. He's not doing too good though. 500 to 600 casualties. I want to break these guns, that way I have a better chance of recovering more. Because I'm assuming as the Confederates, you probably I'm gonna struggle to get artillery, especially good artillery. You could probably buy it, but you probably can't buy it in the, I'm assuming, in the numbers that the Union will be able to. Not to mention, if you just get the guns, it would be actually a lot better. Break Hunt. The Burnside's broken. He's routing. Stewart, you keep him routing. Try and keep him routing. Charge his ass. 33rd, you charge Ricketts. Smith's almost out of ammo, but he has Franklin on the run. Then you move forward as well. In fact, second VA just took a massive volley. Jeb Stewart's wounded again. The animations. Come on. Break Ricketts' battery. Let's move these guys. Hunt's still moving. Cocky, get up there and break him. Alright, so he's broken. Let's get up behind these guys. Second VA is still holding strong in there. Yep, spoke too soon. Sherman's been a thorn in my side this whole battle. 5 minutes left though, we should. So we broke Ricketts' battery, it looks like. Stewart ended up retreating. 3 minutes left. I'm assuming in the battle there might be another part, but seeing as we're approaching 5 o'clock. Oh wait, no, 3 o'clock. 15, yeah, 3 o'clock. Alright, well, Cock broke that battery. 1 minute left, I'm assuming, in battle. It was about 5 p.m. that, so we can continue fight. In fact, I might continue fighting. Seeing as I'm only engaging the enemy with not my forces, not my core forces. That is, might just go ahead and keep fighting this battle, at least until I feel like I'm the fate of the battle is beginning to turn. I don't think it's going to. I think I pretty much have all these guys on the run. Go ahead and move Rockenborough forward. Might just do this out of fast forward though. Especially like right here. I'd like to try and break all these guys. Like I said, it's just more guns we get. So it was about 5 o'clock though that McDowell finally gave in and ordered a retreat. He constantly tried getting his men to rally. He just could not do it. Oh, Franklin's coming back. But yeah, he just could not get him to rally, so eventually he just gave up and officially ordered a retreat. Of all his forces. Now there's a story about on one of the river crossings where on the bridge a well-placed artillery shot blew up I believe it was an ammo cart on the bridge, which caused even more confusion, which pretty much caused the Union forces to just drop their weapons and run. Now there's a lot of questions that get asked about why didn't the Confederates sort of follow up the victory here and move on Washington. A lot of that has to do with the fact that I just lost somebody, I feel. A lot of that has to do with the fact that this battle was like nothing they were expecting or had even seen before. So there was a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of disorganization, but one of the things a lot of people don't think about is there was also the casualty count. Massive amounts of casualties in the field. It was a bloody battle. It was up until that point, I believe, was the bloodiest battle that, not only the bloodiest battle that America had fought, but it was by far I believe combined, it was the bloodiest battle that America ever fought. So more casualties happened at Bull Run than happened in all the wars combined up until that point. It was the Revolutionary War, 1812. Or maybe I'm thinking Shiloh. I might be thinking Shiloh was that bloody. Yeah, don't quote me on that. I think now that I'm thinking about it, I might be thinking Shiloh was that way, not Bull Run. Although Bull Run was still bloodier, the bloodiest day I know to that point in American history. Granted, it also had seen the biggest forces, like the two biggest armies that America had ever seen. But so that's pretty much it. Now, Lincoln. I mean, the North actually responded a lot better than the South did. Lincoln actually decided to make the call even greater. I think he ended up calling for over 1 million troops for a 10-year or a 3-year period. I believe is what he ended up doing. Because of the Battle of Bull Run, a lot of people began to realize this wasn't going to be as easy as it was going to be, or that they had thought it was going to be. Each side believed that a victory here was going to be what won the war. It didn't turn out to be that way, obviously, as we know from history. And the war would go on for another 4 bloody years, very bloody years. And Bull Run was really the beginning of all of that. And it's, like I said, this is battle, like I said before, I grew up in Virginia. So it's about, I literally grew up down the street for most of my time. Grew up down the street from Bull Run. I visited the battlefield many times. It's a beautiful battlefield. You can even visit the Stone Bridge. You can even visit the Battle of Second Manassas, which will take place up here near the railroad cut. Sorry if I can talk right. But yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and finish this. We're hitting 40 minutes, so yeah, let's go ahead and finish this because I still want to do the after action and everything. So let's see. They engaged us with 17,000 infantry, which is about right. They only, even though the army was 36, almost 36,000, they only engaged about 18,000. Same with the Confederates. Each side only engaged about 18,000, even though the Confederates had about 34,000 troops at the battle. Now the casualty numbers are a lot more extreme. I don't remember the official casualty reports. I believe it was like 3,000 to 2,000. I don't remember quite the spread of injury to dead and missing. But they took 1,100, so they only left with about 6,000 troops. Granted, we're not too much better. We're left with about 9,000 troops, all said and done. So we completed all of our goals. Units battle that my artillery gun battery was the best, almost 1,500 casualties, which was almost 8 to 1. So we're about 7 to 1 kill death ratio here. Siegfried and then Smith. I don't remember. Was Smith one of mine? Smith may be one of mine. I can't remember. I believe he is. They all did the best during the battle. Burnside was the most committed from Matthews Hill all the way to the south here. Officers, we have several promotions. Imboden was wounded, but I don't believe he was one of mine. Siegfried's one of mine. Kemper's one of mine, I believe, as well as Lane. So they're all colonels now. Hampton is not one of mine. And then here we have, so we captured a lot of smoothbores. We didn't capture the amount of artillery as I was hoping, although it's still a good amount. 10 12-pound howitzers and 7 6-pound field guns. We recovered a bunch of our Mississippis and Smiths, although that was from my cavalry. And we got a lot more of the Colt 1855s. I plan on building a regiment of cavalry with them. And some sharps. So that's it. That was the after action report for Battle of Bull Run. We get our first service medal, the War Service Medal, and we also get Thomas Jackson as one of our commanders. He's definitely going to be put in charge of my second corps. Well, I might put him in charge of my first division first, because I'm not ready to build a second corps yet. But we also get the second corps. Now we get 2 career points and plus 10 to our reputation. We get 10,000 troops, or 11 to almost 12,000 troops, sorry, and almost 170,000 dollars to spend. So nice little bit of rewards. As we go to the map very quickly, we can see that the next grand battle is Shiloh, and the minor battles are Ambush Convoy. Okay, so that might just be a generic battle. I'm not sure. I might have to look into what that battle might be and stay. Okay, so establishes base at Corinth. So okay, so I think these might just be generic battles. I'll have to look up the dates to see if they do actually signify with any major engagements of the war. I'm not really positive. I could just be overlooking something. But yeah, so our next major battle is going to be, of course, Shiloh, which, yeah, it's going to be a fun one. But thank you all for watching. This video went a little bit long, sorry, I started rambling there towards the end. But thank you all for watching. This is General History signing out. Thank you. Bye-bye.